Here we are back with another video. Today I'm playing Forza Motorsport 7. And I have an Audi. And I'm Audi. Thing sounds sweet. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the PlayStation VR 2 that was just announced. It's very interesting that they are committed to another VR headset. I gotta wonder if there wasn't a pandemic right now, if it would still be. Because the Xbox, I think they tried to put an end to it in some way or shape or form, because they said they were going to have, the Xbox One X was going to have VR. They mentioned it briefly, but there was a lot of speculation about whether they were going to have VR. And PlayStation would never do this. They would never say, hey, we're going to even mention it. Because when you say virtual reality, when I think virtual reality, those are the words I use for a head-mounted display and tracked controllers. 6 degrees of freedom. Now, people don't like to say all of those things, so they say virtual reality or AR or something along those lines. So when the Xbox One X was announced, there was mention of virtual reality experiences. Now, technically, you could say pancake video games such as this are virtual reality, because 20 years ago, if they could see this now, they would say, wow, that's like being there. It's so good. And it is very good. But the PlayStation, when they announced VR, you know for sure what they're talking about. They're saying we are going to release a headset and controllers, and they're going to be of the DualSense design, and you just get a feeling that it's going to be pretty neat. Now, is it going to blow PC gaming out of the water? I don't think so. But will it add to it, and will it offer something that PC gaming doesn't have? I would almost guarantee it. Will it make PC VR enthusiasts kind of wish they could play it a little bit? I would say so. Especially with the haptics and anything else that they're going to come up with that's going to improve VR. It's possible that all the talk about spatial audio was going to be all thrown into the mix with VR, and it was actually part of the plan, basically, to have 3D audio, so to speak, ray traced audio. I'm gonna have to back up on that one. That's what's nice about this game. Too bad they couldn't just take away their VR announcement that easily. Just kind of press Y. But I've gotten past that, the whole announcement by Xbox. A lot of people have not mentioned it. It's just total mum's a word about it. I think they were not heart set on it. But me personally, I was looking at getting I wanted to get a 4K system for my new TV, and I was thinking VR would be a nice mix. And when the Xbox confirmed that they were going to do VR, in my mind anyway, when they said VR experiences and the announcement, I was thinking that was kind of like when PlayStation says that. You just know they're going to do it. They're not going to back out of it. Now, if PlayStation does back out of it, I'll be seriously surprised. But you can almost take them at their word. They're not. I think they do it because they love the games, and they like being the market leader. And you got to make sacrifices. You got to really put out a product that people want. And people think, well, yeah, so it's all about making money. But you just get a feeling that some of Sony is actually a love of the art of video gaming and producing video game systems that people can afford, and the specs and the games that are provided are top-notch, including some of their AAA exclusive games that really throw it over the top. It's what people talk about the most usually when it comes to Sony, but if you're only going to play through 10 games on your system and 3 of them are AAA Sony exclusives, then it is a big part of your library. If you played Horizon Zero Dawn and you played Rush of Blood Until Dawn, I think that was a Sony exclusive, and you played Resident Evil Biohazard in VR, and then you went ahead and played Uncharted. Did I say Uncharted yet? I mean, that's a big part of your year's worth of game playing, or 2 years, you know. Some people don't play every day, and it's not what they do all the time. But they definitely play 5 to 6 hours on Saturday and maybe 4 hours on Sunday. And it ends up being 10 hours a week. And, you know, it could be some VR, could be a workout, could be Pistol Whip, the video game, it could be Beat Saber. All of this adds up into being some of the best gaming that Sony is providing, those games. That's, whoa. As much as this is some of the best that Xbox is providing, this game right here is pretty excellent. In fact, I look forward to Forza Horizon 8, I believe it would be. Motorsport. Forza Motorsport 7. I think I might have said Horizon 7, but I meant Motorsport. Forza Motorsport. I have Forza Horizon 4 as well. I get the two confused a little bit, but back to PSVR. The PSVR 1 was an excellent system, and I think the successor to it, the PSVR 2, is going to be wonderful. That, I think everyone can pretty much deduce, you know, knowing Sony and the company. But you got to wonder what all would they include in the package. Would they give the headset by itself? Would they have the controllers separately? Would there be external tracking? Would it be inside-out tracking? My guess, I would say, is probably inside-out tracking. I think some people have some patents that they've been looking at, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're going to do. But it's probably going to happen. I like inside-out tracking. I think it would be nice to have the lighthouses, but being a permanent fixture, you know, you got to kind of really incorporate it into your lifestyle. Whereas with inside-out tracking, it's right there. If you put it away in a case, it's away. Where with the trackers, I think you could unplug them, but they're kind of like on all the time, and they're just tracking. I don't know. I don't own the Lighthouse trackers. I've read about them a bit, and I've seen quite a number of videos about it. They say it's the best tracking system. It's very accurate. I have a little bit of experience with the PSVR because since having been kind of feeling like I got duped by Xbox, and then after that I bought a PlayStation Pro after the Xbox, and then bought the VR for that, and then I bought 20 VR games. And then beyond that, now I've got a computer, and it has a 2070 Super, and I got a really good deal on a Vive Cosmos. I usually wouldn't spend $700 on a headset, so I didn't. But I got a really good deal on it. And I can see why people review it the way they do, the way they say what they say about it, because it's a little true. You know, the tracking leaves a little bit to be desired, but when I turn the controls on, I make sure they're on the floor on a steady surface. And that's the same thing I did with PlayStation. I've seen so many people turn on PlayStation controls with them in their hand, the moves, and they get the worst tracking ever. And I've done it myself before I thought about it. Why am I having bad tracking? And I turned on the controllers on a flat surface and let them initialize to 0. And when I do that with the Vive ones, the Vive Cosmos controls, they actually work pretty well after that. You just set them down on a flat surface and turn them on so that all the internal gyroscopes and accelerometers are reading 0. And it double checks itself visually. But if its sensors are at 0 when you turn it on, then they're a lot more agreeable. And then also the lights have to be on. So it's kind of similar with all of the other inside-out trackers. I think some of them are better. I think like Oculus has little tiny LEDs on theirs so that they're self-illuminating, as does the Vive Cosmos. It has kind of like a little tribal pattern on it. And but it still needs to have the lights on. If you have the room dark, it can't it can't read the surroundings because it needs those surroundings to know what your head is doing before it can read what the hands are doing. So it has to have that head action. It has to have that as a base. So it needs to read the room. So the room has to have lights on. And once I have the lights on bright enough, and I have good batteries, and I initialize the controllers correctly, it works pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's basically almost basically what you're getting with PSVR, minus any kind of drift. I was getting out of drift on PSVR by turning them on and initializing them flat, and I started not getting any drift. But I think the drift is even less of an issue with the Cosmos. But most people are going to be comparing anything PlayStation does with Oculus, because I think people are starting to see Oculus, regardless of how many sales they've actually made versus how many they say they've made. I think people are just starting to think that Oculus is going to be a contender for the future, because they seem to be really, even if they haven't sold 2 million, even if they had, say they had, but even if they hadn't, they are being extremely aggressive otherwise in other ways. And their pricing especially is very aggressive, and it being available is pretty aggressive. But they're a big time advertising company. They're going to be wanting to place ads. They're going to be wanting to do targeted information. So they're going to be wanting to sell how many trophies you have in what game. You know, they're going to be wanting to get in with LinkedIn, and they're going to have a special page. I don't know what they're going to do, but, you know, they're going to be wanting to sell. That's what they want to do. They want to make money. So I think they have somewhat of a passion for VR, but it's a means to an end, and the end is going to be dollars or some type of political control, I think. Say so is good enough, but dollars is say so as well. I'm not trying to make them out to be some kind of horror company, but they're very aggressive from what I've seen, and they have very targeted ads. I would say more targeted than Google. And I don't know. It's something about, like, you're searching on Google, and that's between you and Google, but it's something about Facebook where they have pictures of your family and friends. I mean, it's like Google now owns your My Documents on your computer. You know, obviously I don't have a problem with Google. YouTube is, I believe, a parent company of Alphabet, I think. If you're a shareholder, you're holding any shares of Alphabet or Google or YouTube, I think that's all. I haven't, I think it's a parent company. So, but the Google, they don't have access to your My Documents. That's all I'm saying. But when you're with Facebook, you have to use Facebook to log into the Oculus Quest, and then your Facebook, if you use it, if it's not a shadow account, if you actually use it, it has pictures of your family, your friends, and all of your interactions with other people. Which, you know, if you go down the street, you can see who's talking to who. It's no big deal, right? But it's just such a broad database. And if you want to sell things like that, I think it would be completely legal to just say, and then if you wanted to sell how many trophies you have in what games, okay, here's their list of trophies. This is what they do. This is what they watch on Netflix. This is what they're watching on Amazon. This is what they're playing on VR. It's kind of like this box system, and then maybe they could possibly start discouraging other types of things. If you wanted to do something else, say you wanted to go out and ride a bike or something, it could be highly discouraged if it's more profitable for you to stay home and play VR. Now, I think it's a free country, and things are going to be fine, but you just got to wonder how much judging. I mean, if you're doing things in VR that are technically illegal, say you're shooting people, and it's just, I know it's a little crazy. Okay, you're going off the beaten path. I understand that, but say you're shooting people and you're making these trophies, and they have a list of your trophies, and they say, hey, for 8 hours on the weekend he's shooting people. Okay, well, all right. And they may be doing the same thing themselves, but they're not, these people may not be judging themselves or just judging others. And it could be that you would be judged in VR for what you do in VR, shooting people. Maybe not in the real world, well, we're not going to judge you in the real world, but in virtual reality, you would get kind of like a virtual jury duty against someone else for what they did, shooting people. So to speak, and then you would get virtual jail time, like kind of like Facebook jail time for virtual actions, like on Facebook or something. Say you were picking on somebody in a game, you were in Onward, and you kept shooting that same person and not giving them a chance to run away or something like that, then it could be, they could have a complaint line, and then you could be judged, and then they would have like other virtual reality players assess the situation in a court of, a virtual court of law, basically, and you would get virtual jury duty, and then you would have virtual punishment. Maybe your Oculus Quest would be bricked for like 3 to 5 minutes. Every time you boot it up, you would have to sit there and wait 5 minutes. Just something to piss you off, and so you don't play that way anymore. A little bit like real life, but virtually. Oh, but that would have to be in a world that was, it's basically like governing. It would be a governing body within the virtual world that governs. It's a little bit what they want to get rid of with crypto, is where, when you spend money, there's a third party that knows where you sent money. They say, okay, so, oh no. Well, see, that's where they reverse that transaction. Okay. So you send money to China to a company, and your bank knows because they sent the money there. And even though they don't talk to you personally, they know who you are, and they watch you, and then they know that you sent $10,000 to China to a company that does some type of fabrication. And it would give them an idea. Say you even did the little trick where you have part of your product made in one factory and the other part in the other factory, and supposedly these people don't know each other and they would never talk, or they don't have Facebook to where they can keep up. But even still, they know what companies you're working with. And it seems a little bit malicious, but yeah, I don't know. Bernie Madoff with your money. So there's some really good-hearted businessmen out there, but that was when they were younger, I think, maybe, and less successful. So, but that's the type of thing that could be brought into the virtual world, where they're watching what you're doing and who you're talking to, and one step ahead. I mean, this information that people are gathering and selling, it's nothing new. It's been done. That's what a college is. They take the information that people know, they get the books, they get it in one place, and then they sell it back to people. It's not their information, but they bought the books and they hired the teachers, and then they start selling it. So what else could they sell? Could they sell how people react in situations of war? Say there's a war situation. Now, I know a lot of people are like, hey guy, we're just playing paintball. In fact, if you don't like it, don't participate. And I understand that point of view, but I'm just saying this is the beginning of something I think that could be big in the future. And people should be just as concerned about who's on the airwaves of the news or anything else as who's providing these experiences and what else could come with it. It's not that I think something would necessarily, it's that we should talk about it. Because it was pretty benign. It's been by benign companies that just kind of provide you with stereos, and then they provide you with Tomb Raider on the PS1. And they provide some other things, and it was always just seemed kind of like a open. It was like a closed loop. Like, you give us the money, we give you the product, and end of story. But I see an open-endedness with some of the other competitors with PlayStation that PlayStation might emulate. They might say, "Hey, you got something there, guy. This would definitely be watching your people over there and watching our people and hitting the brakes when you gotta go right here." Here we go. That was better than last time. But I see a lot of good in the games too. You know, it's been a fun thing in my childhood. It's been I don't even want to mention my loved ones here, but it's been entertaining at times, and sometimes better than watching TV. Sometimes it seemed like time better spent. The sounds of these cars are really good on this game. It really sounds like transmission. Where am I going? I don't even know. And Y doesn't work now? Why isn't Y working? Must be on the finish line. So a lot of people would say, well, if you're not doing anything shady on VR, well, I'm just saying the very nature of VR is you a lot of times get a gun on a game, and I understand it's exciting. Don't get me wrong, I played a lot of gun games. So how many games are gun games? Almost half, at least. And the ones that aren't can come off as boring sometimes because you're so used to it. I mean, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, that was like a big deal. That was Nintendo. That wasn't even their style. You know, you shoot somebody and they start bleeding out of their neck and it squirts 20 feet. It was crazy. But I actually played through that whole game. But I don't know. We'll see. In another 20 years, we'll know. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll think we know. You know, there's probably people that work at Oculus and Sony. They're like, this is a funny conversation. We work there. We know what's going on. It's no big deal. Yes, there's target ads on Facebook. Yes, they have to have an account, but we're just trying to get more accounts. You know, honestly, I don't think they need to because everybody had a Facebook. But I think what he's worried about possibly is that it's going to be MySpace. It's going to be a MySpace. Facebook is going to be a MySpace because it started to feel weird with MySpace after a while. It was like, hey, MySpace, I have my own space, it's mine. And then you started putting your pictures out there, and then there was like these dating apps and stuff, and people were getting on dating sites, and if they don't have any luck and it seemed dumb, and maybe there were just bots on there or something, and no real actual people except for you, then that's weird, you know. And then I don't know, I just feel like it could start to get awkward. Facebook could get awkward as heck. Like, what the heck are we doing, man? I'm uploading my entire life for any and all, and I mean, it's good for social things, but then you get all the complaints, you know, and it's like from people you don't even know. You get complaints and you didn't even do anything, and they want to bring the virtual judge and jury out. I mean, I haven't had a lot of problems, but I'm just saying, you just got to think, can you visit in person? I mean, I'm not dead set against Facebook, but for me personally, it's kind of just, it's ran its course. It ran its course. There's a reason these companies don't last 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. Some of them do. I think some of them have, but companies tend to last like 20 or 30 years unless they produce cars or something. So obviously he's trying to diversify. I think VR is a neat venture, and I didn't want to make this video about the Oculus, but obviously there's a lot of noise. I don't know if it's because there's that many headsets out there, or if it's because they just want to show it off a lot. I think the standalone idea is neat, but it's still lacking horsepower big time. And I know they're talking about a Super Pro 3 or something, but anything that's going to push that thing good is going to create a lot of heat. Or a lot of battery. Or both. It's going to be a computer, because that's what it takes. I mean, this is 6 T-flops, you see what you get. So if you wanted this in both eyes, you got to have 12. I personally think they should double up the CPUs. I don't understand why they don't. I think it has something to do with not being able to be done. I think they tried the 2 GPUs with the SLI, and it was not working for some reason, but it seems like if they could just build it from the ground up to have somehow duplicate the game, so that if you're playing flat screen you have one system, and if you play 2 you have 2 systems. Kind of like, I think PS5 is kind of going that direction when they come out with the Pro. But it would be kind of cool if they just synced up 2 computers somehow, and each one could run each eye and basically like flat screen, pancake, and then you could have current graphics in VR, basically. Sounds a little bit far-fetched, but VR always has to be one step behind. It always has to be, put your settings on low and then play in VR. But it would be kind of nice if we could just leave it in ultra or high and have twice the hardware. But I don't know how many people would actually do that. There's a lot of money being spent, and it gets to be ridiculous. And then a couple of years you can get one GPU that does everything. So things are the way they are for a reason. But and that also applies to the Oculus Quest being released. That's there for a reason. There's a market for it. I think there's a market being made for it rather than it being made for a market. But it's a good introductory product for people if they're like, if you know, like maybe an old couple, someone in an old folks home, or someone that lives in their car. Honestly, if you lived in your car, if you were 18 and you weren't going to try to live the life just yet, but live in your car and work and save and stuff, Oculus Quest would probably be like the best thing ever. Because you're laying back in a Prius. You know, some people, they live in their Prius. I've watched a couple of videos. That sounds crazy, right? But if you watch the videos, look it up. People are living in their Priuses. And I don't know about living large, but they're living in them. And what a thing an Oculus Quest would be for that person. That would be something. And if they had like a laptop or something, they could overdrive it a bit. That would be cool. But me personally, I just got a PSVR, or I would probably consider a PlayStation VR 2, just for reasons. I don't know. It just seems like if I want anybody to blow up and be huge in VR, I don't really think I want. He might take that personally. You know, I think he's a person that would take that personally. But it's just, it's the same reason that if I, you know, it's like, it's the same thing. It's But you know, I think partially the reason Oculus, the reason Xbox, the reason Microsoft may not have released VR is because Oculus was kind of getting headstrong and coming out with products that they didn't want to be halved. And I said that in another video. I think it's very possible that they didn't want to step on each other's feet, because if he gets into, maybe Oculus would get into flat screen gaming. They would be PlayStation and Xbox, and then now, oh shoot, now they got somebody that really wants it bad, and they're going to give away game systems for $100 a piece, and then collect your information. I mean, so it's like Xbox may have stayed away from VR so that VR would stay away from Xbox. You know, I think what some people like about PlayStation is that it's not a company that's in this country. I know that sounds weird because most things people want made in this country and they're not. And then, but I just think just the whole aspect is just kind of neat, that that's just a fun thing to do by someone who is not necessarily. I think Sony has people in the country and outlets and headquarters and all that here, but it just seems like the main interest is probably over there by China on the island of Japan. You think that's where the heart is. That's where the people that are truly behind it are spending the night. So it's not really to say anything. This is a little deep, but I'm just saying I think that's actually a benefit to Sony. And I don't, to say that is probably crazy. Like, can you say that? I don't know. I did, but I just think that is a thing. Like, when I'm playing my video games in the evening, does the person that can see what's going on my wire know my boss, or know my boss's boss, or know someone that I have investments with, or know someone who would not invest with me, or something along those lines, won't hire you, or, you know, it's anonymity to a point of, not that you do anything wrong, but what are you doing? I mean, you're grabbing a gun, like GTA 5, for instance. I don't play that game. Basically because it represents a lifestyle that I don't really, I mean, it's kind of comical and funny, but, you know, you're rocking around with bazookas and blowing up cops, and I mean, maybe some people don't, but I see that on TV a lot. And I play GTA 3, and you can shoot a bazooka at anybody, and yeah, it's all in good fun, you know, it's no big deal, but it just seems like it's just a little bit much. And I know that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. GTA 5, have you played it? And I know it's fun. But the storyline, the gangsters, and the, you know, go do something illegal. And but if you're going to get hired somewhere, and then they look at your trophies, and you have 700 trophies in GTA 5 for doing everything possible in it, and that's a profile right there. They're gonna say, all right, well, what else, you know? Well, I looked on his bank account. I know we're not really supposed to be doing that, but he's spends $400 a year at the party store. Okay. Shooting people. And then the whole marijuana thing, who knows about that? I mean, that's like a sensitive subject now. I heard that some people were losing their voting rights, or I think it was CPL license. You cannot get a CPL license if you've been buying medical marijuana, because it may be legal locally, but it's not legal federally. So if they can prove that you've been buying it, then you lose your right to carry a firearm if you are so eligible. Otherwise, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just those little things, those little hang-ups. Like, yeah, well, here's a nice little disqualifier. Let's do that. Here's a nice little disqualifier. Let's do that. And it's those little stickers you get, you know, those little stars they give you that are kind of like a little joke. So I don't know, it's a little bit negative. I don't know, maybe I need to realize I've done this video three times now. The OBS was messing up on me, so. But, and then it was out of focus. The camera was doing some weird autofocus stuff, I don't know what. But, hopefully my green screen's holding up because the sun's coming up now. I know that sounds crazy, but it is what it is. I got up early and decided to do a video. I know it's a little personal, but no better time than the present, I say. Some work before work. So, do I think the PSVR 2 is a good idea? Yeah. Will I get one? I hope so. I hope it's so compelling. Unfortunately, I've had to upgrade to get Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. If I was already playing Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2 on the PSVR 1 with a PS4 Pro, I would not have bought a PC. But I bought a PC so because I was having a VR itch that, you know, I was seeing all these other VR systems that people are playing, and I don't have a super high-end PC, but I have enough that I can play the PC games and feel good about it. You know, it's a 2070 Super, it's a Vive Cosmos, it's an old workstation, 16 gigs of RAM. It's not the fast RAM, but it's 16 gigs. 2.4 terabyte SSD, and it's serving me well. You know, some of the frame rates could be higher. I think my CPU could be quite a bit better. I could probably double my CPU time. But on a lot of games, I'm still getting 90 FPS if I knock the settings down on the GPU. So obviously, it's a little bit of both, and the CPU is holding up pretty well. Because the GPU ends up being the limiting factor. The CPU just draws the lines, the GPU has to color it all in. You know, it has to color it in. So when you start going down to low on the textures and then you're getting 90 frames, then obviously it was the GPU holding you up. Probably a little bit of both, but it works well. But it gives me an idea of what the PSVR 2 will be like, because it's basically 9 T-flops. It's NVIDIA, so some people equate that to about 10, depending. You know, they have the instructions per clock or the good work done by the T-flops. But so I think I have an idea of what it's going to be like. Now, if they come out with the PS5 Pro, then obviously I will have to make the upgrade for sure. But I'll be kind of going sideways unless they have a lot of really compelling software, like I was saying. So I think we all know what the dilemma is with the PS5, and we kind of know what to expect. It's going to be good. I mean, you can see what the PS5 is like. And as far as other competitors, we'll see. And there's a lot of people starting to think about doing VR. And I think it's because the computer's ability to figure out everything and display it is getting better and better. And it's starting to be like, hey, I'm getting into a car and it actually looks like this isn't Virtual Racer, even though a lot of the companies should have done that. Like even PlayStation 4 Pro should have done just a polygon, a couple more racing games. You know, it could have been Virtual Racer or just some other racing games, because they did that Gran Turismo Sport, and it was only like a side game. It wasn't like, if you could have played Gran Turismo Sport in VR, that would have been really nice. And I realized they had technical difficulties. That's the only reason you wouldn't do it. You know, it's just probably couldn't hold the frames that it needed to hold, and they didn't want to rewrite the book on it. And there's so many people that aren't going to play it in VR, that are just going to play it on a huge projection or a 4K screen. And that was the thing. 4K TVs were coming out, and that was the thing to have, was a 4K screen and some way to play 4K video games, and it still is. But this generation is definitely tackling it with the GPUs, 20 series GPUs, 30 series GPUs, and the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. 4K 60 is ready to be had, and it 120 hertz, you can get that too from all of it basically. And then VR, the door's open. I mean, it just depends on what people want to do, and I understand not wanting to put something on your face. There's a lot of times I have to tell myself it's going to be fun once you get in there. Why don't you go ahead and do what it takes? And there's like, I've heard it from other people too. There's like hygiene issues. Like you want to go take a shower before you put it on. It's something you do 2 hours after you take a shower. And it doesn't always have to be that way, but if it comes into play, I mean, it totally does. And you can replace the mask. There's things you can do, and it's something you got to want to do. And I realize that those are some things that make some people just go, I don't think I want to do that. But times will change, and I see these new ones where they're like sunglasses you put on. Even that visor, I don't know, there was some sunglasses that that one person was wearing. They were like, just kind of went around like this, and they look like a mirror. Anything like that, like maybe DLP onto that and back, maybe a DLP solution where it comes out here and over there and all of that. You never know what could be thought of that would work. Hybrid between a projector and a set of sunglasses. But it looks like I won this race. Oh, that's Justin 18. I guess I'll pretend I'm Justin 18. I don't think I won. Yeah. Dragon Boy. But I talked a lot about PSVR 2. So I guess I did okay. I could talk about PSVR 2 for quite a while and just go on and on about it. But my thoughts are as such what I said, but also that we will see. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. That's really all anyone can really say, really. I mean, we have our opinions about what we think they'll do, but we have 2 years to wait till it hits the shelf. And I have learned the hard way that don't plan too hard on it. That's why I got a PC, because I had Xbox tell me they were going to come out with VR. Only for a minute, but they still said it. And I jumped to conclusions because I was being overzealous about it. And now I have this new kind of skepticism. And maybe that was why it was said. I don't know. Maybe they wanted a little bit of hair skepticism and get more people over to the PC side and get more people to try the Oculus. I don't know. It's a competitive world, and people learn to bounce different messages off of different people and get different reactions off of everything. I don't know. And now that might sound malicious, but you just don't know what's going on. But I'm happy for Sony that their new system looks awesome. I didn't buy it yet. I was kind of looking out for myself, and I got into PC and everything like I was saying, so I guess we will see in 2 years. And think about it, though. I have this now, and in 2 years, they're going to come out with their system that's similarly spec'd. So, yeah, they'll have some new haptics and new finger trackers, but, you know, I have that button off to the side, and if you open your hand and then you hit the button, it's somewhat similar. It's not exact, but you're only going to get so much out of VR to a point anyway. Even if you can open your hand, I haven't tried that. Maybe it's totally amazing, but at some point you're not actually crushing a can. You're holding your hand like it's in the air, and that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but you're not going to be crushing a can, and it's not going to feel like you're crushing a can. But you will be able to do fingers. I've tried to do fingers in that, and you got to wait for it to like try to go to a finger before you can press something. It does that on its own, like in Half-Life Alyx. So, like I said, I could go on and on and on. I hope you like this video. I don't have anything to ship right now in my eBay store, but if you'd like to, that's why I'm playing video games. Usually don't play video games if I have something to ship, but if you would like to, you can always shop at my eBay store, GB Hatchery. I will leave a link in the description. I sell used items. I have quite a few. Some sell faster than others, so You know, some of them maybe things that I've had for quite a while, but when I list them and they're good, they sell quick. So you can always come back and check again if you don't see anything you like at the time. Other than that, I hope you're safe and healthy, and I will see you in the next video.